So in order to have it, we know we have to have a clear, compelling vision. We know that we have to stay focused around what matters. We know that the result of that is generally a camaraderie that we can help to create that kind of culture, or the things that can kill it. We also noticed that when we looked at those teams, those churches, those businesses that have it, there's also a very innovative spirit. A lot of times when people come across a problem, they say, well, we can't do this because we don't have whatever.
Right.
But those that have it have a different mindset. They say, we can no matter what, we'll find a way.
Absolutely.
Do you remember in the early years, would you say we were innovative? We weren't? Did we grow into it? What's your memory of maturing in our spirit of innovation?
I think the innovation spirit has always been there because the drive to the mission is so critical, and it is so profound that there's no way we're not going to accomplish that.
Right.
And when your mission and your vision is so compelling, then your team will find a way to get it done.
Yes.
And that's where we found, and you can talk to this, where limitations became actually and constraints became the greatest push toward innovation.
100%. So I always thought as a young leader that to be innovative, you needed more people, more time, more resources, more money. And we've found in our own experience and research and talking to others that too much money, too much time, too many resources actually limit your innovative spirit because you start relying on those, and that less time actually makes you more innovative. Less money makes you more innovative. And so we recognize that we say it this way, limitations are the breeding ground for innovation. I think the time we discovered this first, and I honestly think this was your idea. None of us know, and you wouldn't claim it, but we had built our first building. We were a little over 3 years old. The church was full in multiple services. We were turning people away. Our church was so young, we didn't have big givers. We didn't have the money to build bigger, and we were turning people away. We didn't know what to do. And someone, I think it was you, someone said, what if we do church at a different location? And to our knowledge, that had never been done. We discovered later on that there were other people that were experimenting with that as we were. We didn't know they were, they didn't know we were, but we decided to go and meet at a movie theater to have a second service there. And that innovation was not born out of a lot of resources, that was born out of a lack of resources. And that's when our mindset started to shift, that we don't need more to do more, that if we have the passion, we'll find a way.
Absolutely. And I remember distinctly, time and time again, people will come and they look at Life Church Today and they're like, man, you guys had this all thought. How much of this did you see? And unequivocally, none. It's every step of the way God pushes us simply because we are trying to push the vision and the mission forward. And that's what it is.
And things look obvious in hindsight. For example, a lot of churches baptized the way we do today. Nobody did, to my knowledge, when we did. And we had a problem, and that is we couldn't do worship, and we couldn't preach a message, and we couldn't baptize all the people that wanted to be baptized. So what did we do? Are we going to do a whole baptism service? We're going to take it somewhere else. For us, baptism is a great reason to bring your friends to church. So we didn't want to take it somewhere else. So we came up with the innovation that looks so obvious today, but it hadn't been done before. How can we baptize hundreds in one service without going over the time, still preach a message, still do it? It's impossible, right? No, not if you bring in a swimming pool, something that hadn't been done to my knowledge before, a big old ugly $700 pool from somewhere, fill it up with water, and then baptize a bunch of people at one time. So 5 or 6 could be baptized at one time. And then when do you put it in the service? You put it in worship, so that we're actually baptizing 2 people, lives being changed publicly. It was, the benefits were beyond what we could imagine. And it looks really obvious now, but at the time, it was based on pure limitations and no way to solve the problem.
It's funny you're talking about that, and all I can think about is the first time we had it, we thought, man, we're innovative. We also like to have fun. We talked about camaraderie before, so we got a bunch of rubber duckies and threw them in the pool. And then when we decided to get in the pool, the pastors were getting in the pool, we thought it'd be fun to do cannonballs into the pool. I remember you talking to us after service about, hey, that was great, but that might be a little over the top. Let's pull down the cannonballs a little bit,
Cannonballs
guys.
between services is really fun and good camaraderie, but during the baptism, that might be the unholy ghost that just came in there.
Yeah, so I think it's important too to speak a little bit to this because we've had a lot of innovations over the years.
Yes.
But not every innovation necessarily worked, and trying to distinguish that just because an innovation may have not worked initially, to not all of a sudden think you're not innovative. You might need to go back at it. So talk a little bit about the times where, you know what, we've tried something to innovate and maybe that thing didn't quite work and we innovated again.
Absolutely. In fact, that's one of the qualities we're going to spend a lot of time talking about. Those that have it, they are willing to fail. Mm-hmm. And that's in an innovative climate, what you have to do is you have to create a culture where people are not afraid to fail. Sometimes we set our standards so high that people are afraid to try anything. And many of the great innovations we have, we didn't get right the first time. It was we tried it, it failed, we tweaked it, we tried it again, we tried it again, we tried it again, we tried it again. And you don't have to get it right. In fact, I would rather be wrong trying something and learning than not trying anything at all. So a lot of times, if we make a mistake, we're making passive mistakes rather than aggressive mistakes. Let's try, let's mix it up.
You're hitting something I want to dive into a little bit deeper because you said a culture, and you hit the word culture. And one of the things I've heard you say before, from stage, you'll be doing Q&A with people and leaders, and they're like, man, you're so innovative, you're so this, and you're always like, well, I don't know that I think about trying to be innovative and all that, but I'm not necessarily naturally the most innovative person. What you say then is I think I've created a culture where people feel free to be innovative. So let's talk about to the leaders out there. They may be like, I haven't had a good idea in a long time, but that doesn't mean that they can't create a culture. Talk about how to do that.
The real truth is I am not the innovative leader. What I am is I am the empowering leader, period. I even tested with my performance psychologist, and creativity and innovation appeared insultingly low on my gift mix. And I actually thought I was more creative than I am, and I'm not. So our role as a leader is not to come up with all the ideas. Our role as a leader is to empower a team full of people to come up with ideas. And it matters more than you can imagine, because not only is my perspective limited, but when we tap into the whole team, that makes everybody know that their contribution could matter.
Yep.
The other thing is, one of the qualities that we have that's special to me is that all of our top leaders in our office, we've been together for 20 plus years.
Right.
Why is that? One of the reasons is because you all have good ideas, and I say yes to your good ideas and give you full credit to your ideas and don't try to take credit on my own.
Right.
And if you didn't have the ability to create and didn't have the ability to innovate, you are such a good leader, you would go do it somewhere else. You would do it on your own. You'd start some kind of business. And one of the reasons why so many top leaders don't stay in churches and businesses is because they don't have the freedom to create.
Right.
So my role is to create an environment where you can fail, you can succeed, you can try. If you've got an idea, we want to resource it. The very best ideas that we have and implement to this day were not my ideas. They were other people's ideas, and that's what makes it so special. It's not me being innovative, it's creating a culture that allows for, encourages, and celebrates innovation.
So I think it's important. You see how these are all building on themselves, and why, when it comes to having it, they so intertwine with one another. And the fact that, you know what?
Yes.
When you create innovation, but you have camaraderie and you've created a culture and an environment where it's fun, and you allow the team to fail, you allow them to innovate and do things around a given vision, and you have focus toward it, it makes sense and people understand. Now, let's talk a little bit about just in closing, process innovation can be run amok, and people can be like, we got to innovate all the time.
Yes.
And I've also seen sometimes, if you talked earlier during the session about, man, if you've got too much resource, too much time, it creates problems. Have you seen, or how do you pull back towards where innovation can actually create drag just because they're trying to innovate to create something new versus innovating that pushes an organization forward?
Yeah, so sometimes like in our world, in the churches, sometimes I think churches focus on creativity more than clear communication.
Right.
So our goal is not to wow people, our goal is to have people's lives change. So innovation isn't for the sake of innovation. Essentially what innovation does is it either solves a problem or moves the mission forward, period. So we're not trying to innovate to be cool, to have people look at us and go, wow. What we're trying to do is we're trying to solve a problem 100%. Or we're trying to push the mission forward. And again, like you said, all these, I hope people see they're going to start to interlock, is that the vision drives it all. Focus keeps you doing the right things toward the vision. The byproduct is camaraderie. And when you know what you're supposed to do, you're not doing all the distractions, you like each other, you can figure it out.
Yep.
You can figure it out. If the what is clear and the why is strong enough, your people will figure out the how, and the how is the innovation. And I'm thankful for a team full of people that believe in the what, understand the why, and figure out the how.